From proof that one Avenger might still remember Peter Parker's secret to hidden clues about who's really controlling Jean Grey, today we're breaking down 10 wild theories about Spider-Man Brand New Day. But first, if you're excited for this movie, drop a web in the comments. And if you love Marvel theories, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Number 1. Does Doctor Strange secretly still remember Peter Parker? After the spell that erased Peter Parker from everyone's memory, Tom Holland himself hinted in an interview that
I think no one remembers that I'm Spider-Man apart from one.
Without confirming exactly who. Most fans immediately assumed that person had to be Hulk. But there's a problem with that theory. The version of Hulk who actually interacted with Spider-Man years earlier
There's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man?
operated with a completely different consciousness than the personality present during the events of the spell, meaning the Hulk who could theoretically remember Peter may not even exist anymore in the same form. That points fans toward a different, more compelling answer. Doctor Strange, whose own film has already established direct, specific knowledge of a multiversal incident involving Spider-Man, referencing it in language that feels far too precise and deliberate.
We have experience of the multiverse. Most recently, there was an incident with Spider-Man.
What, man?
To be a simple throwaway line meant for casual viewers. Number 2, is Sadie Sink secretly playing Jean Grey? Fans have spent months guessing who Sadie Sink is really playing in this film, and the trailer keeps dropping hints pointing toward one answer. Throughout the footage, people suddenly freeze mid-motion and turn violently on each other as if controlled by an invisible external force. Exactly the kind of telepathic manipulation long associated with one of Marvel's most powerful mutants. Leaked merchandise reportedly shows her character surrounded by glowing pink energy, a visual signature closely tied to that same character across recent comics and animated adaptations. Add in the fact that a government containment agency treats this mysterious individual like an enormous citywide public threat, precisely how the wider Marvel universe has always reacted the first time mutants go public and become known, and a much bigger picture starts to form. Combined with Peter's own strange, unexplained mutation being actively studied throughout the film by a scientist with genetics expertise, it raises the real possibility that this movie isn't just introducing one new hero quietly. It might be laying the groundwork to launch Marvel's entire mutant storyline going forward. Number 3, is Daredevil secretly hiding in the prison fight? One of the trailer's biggest moments shows Spider-Man taking on an entire army of masked warriors inside a prison, and at first glance, it looks like a solo fight against overwhelming odds, but those warriors match the exact description of an ancient ninja organization long associated with a very different hero entirely, one whose comic and television history is built specifically around fighting exactly this kind of highly trained, borderline supernatural threat. Several shots in the fight feel oddly incomplete too, with enemies knocked back from angles that never clearly show what actually hit them, a trick Marvel has used before to hide major surprise cameos in earlier trailers for other films. If the prison itself happens to be holding a certain blind vigilante following recent events elsewhere in the franchise, it would make far more narrative sense for this coordinated attack to be about him rather than Spider-Man, raising the genuine possibility of an unannounced crossover appearance nobody's currently expecting going into the film. Number 4, did Tom Holland's Spider-Man have an Uncle Ben after all? When this version of Spider-Man was first introduced to the franchise, he'd already been active as a hero for 6 months, deliberately skipping past his origin story entirely since it had already been told twice before across 2 earlier film series. That choice has left fans wondering for years whether this particular version even has an Uncle Ben in his backstory at all. The evidence quietly suggests he does. In one early film, Peter specifically avoids telling his aunt he's Spider-Man,
Don't tell it me.
citing everything she's recently been through emotionally, a subtle but heavy hint at a very recent, painful loss in the family. In a later film, he's shown traveling with a suitcase monogrammed with initials that spell out Uncle Ben's full given name, almost letter for letter. With growing rumors suggesting this new film may finally explore more of Peter's untold origin, fans may finally get long overdue confirmation of exactly what happened and how it quietly shaped the hero he eventually became. Number 5, is the trailer's mysterious narrator secretly the Jackal?
Spiders have 3 life cycles.
The trailer's narration is delivered entirely by a voice never actually shown on screen at any point, describing spiders going through distinct life cycles before eventually reaching a final stage of rebirth. On the surface, it plays like simple atmospheric narration meant to set a tone, but that specific description matches almost exactly how a certain brilliant, mutation-obsessed geneticist from the comics would clinically describe what's actively happening to Peter's body throughout the film. The trailer never once shows this narrator interacting with anyone directly on screen, which raises an unsettling possibility. What if he isn't narrating the story to the audience at all, but is instead speaking directly to Peter in-universe, quietly walking him through an experiment that's already well underway inside his own body? Number 6. Or is the real villain actually Doc Ock in disguise?
Hello, Peter.
Not everyone agrees with the jackal theory above, and there's a genuinely compelling counterargument worth considering. According to certain plot details floating around online, this mystery character is described as slowly, physically dying, and actively looking to transfer his consciousness into an entirely new body, specifically wanting to become the new Spider-Man himself going forward. That very specific ability, a dying scientist attempting to fully take over Spider-Man's own body as a host, has never actually been part of that other villain's established comic history in any meaningful way. It is, however, exactly the defining central plot of one of the most acclaimed and beloved Spider-Man storylines ever written, one built entirely around Doc Ock pulling off precisely that. If that acclaimed storyline is the real creative inspiration here, the villain hiding behind the trailer's mysterious voice may not be who most fans currently assume it to be. Number 7. How would Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man get an iron spider suit? A leaked image reportedly confirms Tobey Maguire filming in a full-motion capture suit, strongly suggesting his version of Spider-Man will indeed be wearing a high-tech, mechanically enhanced suit in an upcoming multiversal crossover film. The obvious problem is that his particular universe never had access to that kind of advanced technology in the first place, since the character who originally built it doesn't exist there. The most likely explanation traces back to a wealthy, extremely well-funded figure from his own reality who could plausibly reverse engineer or build something that technologically advanced, given enough resources and motivation. If that same figure was cured of his long-standing condition during a previous crossover event and remains alive, stable, and fully functional in his own universe afterward, it would make perfect narrative sense for him to eventually equip his world's Spider-Man ahead of a coming multiversal battle none of them can afford to lose. Number 8. Peter Parker has secretly been alone for 4 years. Here's the quietly devastating detail hiding underneath this film's entire title. While his old friends have gone on to graduate college and build entirely new lives elsewhere, moving forward without him in every visible way, Peter chose a completely different, far lonelier path after everyone forgot who he truly was. Instead of rebuilding any semblance of a normal life for himself, he became Spider-Man full-time, with absolutely nobody around him even aware of who he really is underneath the mask. A letter Peter reportedly wrote afterward makes the weight of that choice explicit. Sometimes doing the right thing, as Spider-Man came directly at the cost of everything Peter Parker himself actually wanted for his own life. For 4 uninterrupted years, nobody celebrated his birthday, nobody knew where he lived, and nobody ever simply checked in to see if he was okay. The only identity he had left standing was the mask itself. That quietly reframes the entire meaning of the title. This was never really about unlocking flashy new powers. It's about Peter finally getting a real chance to become himself again, after years of near total isolation. Number 9. Does MJ still subconsciously remember Spider-Man? Even though the spell that erased Peter from everyone's memory worked flawlessly on a conscious level, leaving no trace of him behind in her mind, there's a theory that some part of that shared history survived anyway on a purely physical, instinctive level instead. The very first time Peter ever took MJ swinging through the city skyline together, she was completely terrified, screaming repeatedly for him to put her feet back on solid ground immediately. In the new trailer, she's shown swinging through that same skyline again, this time completely calm, relaxed, and at total ease in the air. If her mind genuinely has no memory of Spider-Man left at all, that sudden instinctive comfort midair becomes difficult to fully explain away, unless some quiet, buried part of her still remembers exactly what it once felt like to feel safe in his arms, even without knowing why. Number 10. The hidden details in Spider-Man's fight with Hulk. A closer look at the Spider-Man vs. Hulk footage reveals several details that are genuinely easy to miss on a first casual watch. A certain gun-toting vigilante can briefly be spotted caught right in the middle of the chaos, hinting at a genuinely unexpected three-way team-up quietly brewing in the background of the scene. Peter's wrist gear also appears to be built from a heavily modified version of a known villain's signature weapon, suggesting he's been getting increasingly creative repurposing old enemy tech into entirely new gadgets of his own design. But the most surprising detail comes near the very end of the clash, where Spider-Man's webbing is shown wrapped so tightly around Hulk's body that it visibly digs into his skin under the strain, strong enough that even his raw, near-limitless strength can't immediately tear free, right before Peter finishes the entire exchange with one devastating, perfectly placed close-range strike. And that's it. Which one of these theories has you the most hyped or the most nervous? Let me know in the comments. If you want part 2 2 covering even more brand new day theories, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed because there's a lot more speculation still to come.